Okay, so for the cover, you are going to need 2 pieces of chipboard that measure 6 3/4 inches by 8 3/4 inches. So 2 of those. I'm using a fairly thick chipboard. It's probably 3 or 4 millimeters thick. And then you'll also need a spine piece that is 2 inches by 8 3/4 inches. Okay, so they're gonna sit just like that. To wrap them, you will need 2 pieces of cardstock that measure 8 by 10 3/4 and 2 pieces of Tyvek that measure 5 by 10 3/4. So 2 pieces like that. If you don't have any Tyvek, you can use just cardstock to wrap your cover, and you'll need to put a couple pieces together, like just adhere them together to create one big piece that is 10 3/4 high by 18 inches wide. Okay, but we're gonna do it this way. So what we're gonna do is we are going to adhere our Tyvek to our cardstock pieces. So the cardstock is going to overlap the edge of the Tyvek by about 3/4 of an inch. So I'm just going to put some, actually I'm going to do both score tape and wet adhesive. Okay, and then a little bit of wet adhesive as well. It is really windy out today. You can really hear my chimes outside. Sorry if that's distracting. Okay, so now I'm just going to lay the cardstock over top like this. And then do the same thing on the other side. Our goal is that you want the spine piece to sit in the center with a little bit of space between where the cardstock is and where the Tyvek is. Okay, so just like that, and from the back side it looks like that. I'm going to adhere my spine piece first, and then I'm going to cover that with the second piece of Tyvek, just so all of the chipboard is covered and you won't see any of that bare chipboard. I'm going to use this big thick roll of adhesive because it's just easier than adding a whole bunch of score tape. So I'm going to do it this way. The wind is crazy out there today. I don't know if you can hear it howling, but it is howling. I had to close the windows because it was getting so loud. Okay, so now we are going to put both of these down. So I'm going to remove the tape backing, put some glue on, and then put these down, and then I'll add the second piece of Tyvek. Okay, so you're gonna wanna leave a good quarter of an inch or so, between an eighth and a quarter of an inch of space in between the spine and the front and back cover panels. Okay, perfect. Now you can either wrap it around and then put this on, or put this on first. Totally up to you. So I'm going to add score tape all the way around the outside on the cardstock. Okay, and then I'm just going to miter all of the corners, leaving a little space between the chipboard and the edge of the cardstock here. Okay, so there's a little bit of a space in between the edge of the cardstock and where the chipboard starts. And now we're going to fold all of these around. So I'm going to remove the tape backing, add a little bit of wet adhesive, and then fold it over. Okay, and then do the other side. It can help to do this and kind of like train the paper to where it's supposed to go, just to give it a little head start. Now I like to tuck in these little corners here just so it doesn't get all pointy and sharp before I do the far sides. But if you cut too close to the chipboard when you're trimming the corners, then you'll be able to see the chipboard on the corner, and we don't want that. So that's why I left a little space. So I just use the edge of my scissors and just kind of push it in, and that way it doesn't create like a really sharp point. It's more of a rounded, nice corner. Okay, and now we can add our piece here, but we don't need it to be as long. Putting it on afterwards makes it so that it doesn't have to be as long. So let's see. So it will be about 8 1/4 inches, somewhere around there. Okay, so again, I'm going to use this wide adhesive just because it's easier to work with. Just going to remove the tape backing and press this down. All right, so I'm just going to use my bone folder just to press it into the crease in between the spine and the covers, just to make sure it's really in there. And now we can set this aside and work on our binding. For the binding, we're going to do a really simple binding system. So you'll need one piece that measures 7 7/8 by 6.5 inches. Grab your scoreboard. We're going to be scoring on the 6.5 inch side, and we are going to score at half, one and a quarter, 2, 2 and a half, 3 and a quarter, 4, 4 and a half, 5 and a quarter, and 6. Okay, so once again that is half, 1 and a quarter, 2, 2 and a half, 3 and a quarter, 4, 4 and a half, 5 and a quarter, 6. Okay, and you don't have to, but I'm going to back mine in Tyvek and then fold it. Okay, so I've got my piece backed in Tyvek. I trimmed just a tiny little bit off either side, and now I'm going to fold and crease on all of the score lines. So what we're going to be doing is the 3/4 inch sections are going to adhere to each other, like to the adjacent one. So I'm just going to put a piece of score tape on this first one. And a tiny bit of glue. Okay, and then adhere it to the one next to it. So we're kind of going to be folding like an accordion, almost. So you're going to have 3 pieces that stick up and then a space in between each of those 3. Okay, so the next one, just going to fold it until I get that crease in between so I know where to put my score tape. Okay, so the next 3/4 inch space, I'm going to put a bit of score tape on the back. Okay, and then fold, so you've got a 3/4 inch here and a 3/4 inch here, and they're going to fold together and adhere. Okay, so far we have got 1/2 inch section, and then we've got 2 of the 3/4 inch sections adhered together, and then another 1/2 inch section, 3/4 inch adhered together. Then we're going to do another 1/2 inch section and another 3/4 inch adhered together. So the 3/4 inch sections are where the pages will slide onto. Okay, so you should have something that looks like this. As soon as it's completely dry, I'm going to really go over each of these folds with the bone folder. The more you crease it, the better it will move. So I'm just going to clip it for a couple minutes and until it's completely dry. And all right, so once your cover and your spine piece are complete and they're dry, we're just going to attach our binding right onto the spine of the cover. So I've got some score tape already on the back, and I'm just going to add a little wet adhesive and then sticker down. If you prefer, you can add the pages onto the binding now and then add it into your album and decorate with the pages in the album. I prefer to decorate the pages outside of the album. I like them to be separate. Okay, so you want to make sure you center it up and down and right to left. Okay, and I'm going to add some score tape on either side of each of the flanges, and then I'm going to clip it and keep that there for a little while just to make sure that it's really strongly adhered. And then we can move on to the next part. Okay, so I'm just going to set that aside and let that completely dry. And we are done with the creation, the construction of the album. So I am I'm combining the Minte Woodland collection. I just have one 6x6 paper pad of this collection. And then I'm combining it with my own paper collection, which I'm calling the Abstract Forest. So it's a lot of greens and browns and bark texture, leaf texture, some flower, kind of reminiscence of flowers. They're not exactly flowers. Yeah, so kind of like some stream kind of action, and then I've got a little bit of the pinks just to combine the pinks that are in the paper collection. So there is 40 different pieces in this collection, and they are available as a digital download now in my Etsy shop, so you can go check that out. Okay, so starting with page 1, this is what it looks like. And then, was that it? That was it for that. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to add some pieces to this. I'm not going to, I've already kind of pre-cut my pieces to kind of figure out where everything's going to go, because that always takes me the longest. So I'm not going to put every piece on with you, because that will take forever and be slightly boring, I think. So I'm just going to kind of show you where I'm going to put everything, and then if there's anything fancy that needs to happen, I will do that part with you. Okay, so I've put a few of the pieces on already. Throughout the album, I'm going to be using these silver leaves of different kinds that I got. They're all these really cool charms that are different kinds of leaves. I got this on Amazon quite a while ago, and I haven't actually used them yet. So I'm going to be using those periodically throughout the album. I have Zuri helping me now. Such a good helper. You're such a good helper. Okay, so I'd like to do a swing tab to close this front tab. So I've got my little leaf that I'm going to use. I'm going to take some kind of pen or something just to like mark where I want it to go. So I'm just going to put a little pen mark here. And then I'm going to punch a hole through that. So I haven't got the piece on the back side yet. And I punch my hole. And then attach that with a brad. And I have to change the leaf that I'm using because the brad doesn't fit through a lot of the holes in the leaves. So they have different sized holes, so I'm just gonna have to change that. It's all about modifying things on the fly. Okay, so opening the tines in the back, I'm gonna put a little bit of score tape over top of those tines. And then remove the backing and put on my last piece. I don't show myself deciding what papers to use because that takes far longer than it should take. I'm very indecisive when it comes to choosing my pattern paper, so it takes me a long time. That's why I kind of do it ahead of time, so you're not sitting here for an hour for each page. Well, it's not quite that long, but it takes me a while. I'm very indecisive. All right, so there is that. So now we've got our swing tab here. So you swing that open, and I've just got a piece of coordinating colored cardstock. I just like to have some solid elements so that you have your eyes have a place to rest and a place for journaling there. And then on the inside, more of that green, some of the Minte pattern paper, and then on the inside, two of the pieces that I created. I created all of these doing acrylic pouring on paper, on cardstock, and they turned out quite cool. I'm really happy with the way they turned out. I love the challenge of taking an existing paper collection and trying to create my own background papers to match it. It's one of my favorite things to do. So that is page 1. And then page 2. Get all my pieces where I want them to go. Okay, now I can start attaching them. I think I'm going to have one more swing tab here, another leaf here. Okay, so I can start putting these on. I'd like something here as well, but I'm not quite sure what yet. Just going to change my tape. So when you're cutting a piece to go inside of a pocket, it doesn't have to go all the way to the end of the pocket, as long as it goes in at least a ½ inch, so that your tags don't get caught on anything as they're coming in and out of the pocket, then you're good. So I like to go at least a ½ inch inside the pocket. And then just kind of tuck it in a little bit before you let it adhere. Just like that. So just so you know, I used there's 24 double-sided sheets in the Minte 6x6 collection. I used about 10 of them. And then in my own collection, there is 40 different designs. So I printed them all out at 8.5 by 11, and then I printed them a second time with 2 per page, so that they are about 5.25 by 8-ish, and printed those out in that size as well. And I used about 10 8.5 by 11 sheets on that. Now I've got some of these laser cut flowers just from the dollar store, so I'm going to use one of those right here. Just so you know, it doesn't really need a magnet, I decided, but I would like it to be obvious that it lifts up. I mean, I guess it's kind of obvious already, but just want a little bit of decoration there. I'm just going to put some on and then kind of like go over it with my finger. And adhere that down. And then later on, I will put things in the pockets. I tend to do that last. I don't know why, it's just the way I do it. Normally, I guess I'm kind of waiting to see what scraps there are. this time there's enough paper that I could make 3 more albums using the same papers. So that's not an issue this time around. Now it needs something else on the front here, I think, as well. I might do the same thing and just put another flower here. These are quite delicate, so I just don't want it to be somewhere where it has the potential to break. And there's a bit of a lift there. I might not do that. I'm going to leave that for now and see if there's something else that jumps out at me to do there. So that's page 2. So for page 3, we're going to have to remove these brads in order to get a piece of paper underneath here. Okay, so I'm just going to remove the brads. And because we have the magnets there, they will be easy to put back in place. Okay, so I'm going to use this piece here on the bottom. For anyone who is like unfamiliar with albums and isn't sure about what size to use for matting, you literally just have to take measure the place where you want to put a piece of pattern paper, and then just go about a 1/4 inch smaller, both on the height and the width, just so you have a little black border, and that's all you have to do. Alright, so now we're going to put our pieces back in. So because we've got those magnets, it just knows where to go. So we just have to kind of re-punch a hole through the patterned paper now. Okay, and the tines are opening on the inside of the page. And then I'm going to put a little bit of score tape covering over those tines just so they don't come out accidentally. Okay, and then we're going to do the top one. Okay, and now we can add our pieces onto these parts. So I'm going to have these go on the front. Okay, and then open these both up, and I've got just some plain cardstock to go here, so journaling or photo space. And then these are going to go over here. So I've taken a couple of the little cut aparts and just backed them on just some plain kind of beige cardstock, and I'm going to use those as little kind of openers. So I'm just going to adhere them just part way onto the front pieces. Perfect, super cute. Okay, so I'll just go over this really slowly. Oh, got a little bit of extra adhesive here. Went a little too far. If that ever happens, you can usually just use your finger to roll it back again. Okay, how to do with a little fox. He's perfect. Okay, on the inside it looks like that. And then when you rotate these, it looks like that. So space for a nice big photo there. Oops, sorry buddy. Okay, so that's page 3. Moving right along. Okay, so I'm going to start with the inside first, I think. So I'm going to put this in the center and then have these at the top and the bottom. Don't know if I mentioned that I have inked the edges of all of my pieces in Distress Oxide Vintage Photo. Just go over the edges a little bit. It's a personal thing. I just prefer the way it looks over seeing the white edge of the paper. Gives it more of a rustic feel. I like it. Oh, and this one didn't get done either. Got a piece of hair that I'm having trouble getting rid of, because what's a Cadia album without a little hair, right? I think I find hair in almost every album. Now I decided to leave these parts blank because they're perfect for 4x6 photos. So I'm just going to close those back up and then figure out exactly where all the rest of my pieces are going. Okay, so I'll show you what I have so far. So just the top 2 have full paper on them, and then the rest are just a little strip. So there's still room for the photo without adding any bulk to it. And then on the inside, just like that. Okay, so on the front, I thought it would be cute. I loved these little cut-aparts. So I thought about putting those there, and then just having adhesive on the outside 3 sides, and then have like a little kind of like secret message that can go kind of in between them, and I might just put a little decorative something in the center. So I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to use some, actually I'm going to use both score tape and the wet adhesive, like I've been doing. Okay, and then just a little bead of glue. That's too much already. Okay, and then this little note can kind of slip in, and then I should probably let this dry first, shouldn't I? Yeah, I'm gonna let it dry first, and then actually, you know what? Maybe I should have put it on foam tape. I wonder. Yeah. I'm gonna do that very quickly before it all dries, and then there'll be some space for the note to go. Ooh, just in the nick of time. Perfect. Let's try and find where the sticky was, so I put it in the same spot. Awesome. Now it should be easier for the note to kind of stick in there. Like that. Hooray! Okay, perfect. Moving on. Okay, so I'll just remind you of what this page looks like. These two both go up and down, and then they go this way, and then they open up all the way, and then we've got two pieces that go out like that. So I'm going to start in the center and put this here, and then these are going to go here, and then I'm going to leave these, the inside blank, and on this part I'm going to put these pieces. Okay, so I'm going to put those on, and then I will show you the front. Okay, so this is what I have so far. I've got some journaling spots and that on the inside of each one. And then on the big part, I've got that. Now on the inside, on the front, I mean, I wanted something to keep these two bits closed, but I didn't want to cover up this paper because it's gorgeous. So I didn't want to cover it up, so my solution to this is going to be this. I've got two little strips of cardstock, about 2 inches by 1 inch. I'm going to glue about 1 inch of it down onto this corner and this corner here. Okay, and then I'm going to fold them up and over these pieces on the front. So first I'm going to glue them down, and then I'll show you what it is that I mean. Okay, so I'm gluing one to this corner here, and the other one to the opposite corner. Okay, so that one's right there, and this one is going to be right here. Okay, so I'm going to let those dry for a moment and get some paper ready for these parts. Okay, so I'm going to use some of this design paper to go here, so covering over the part where we just adhered, and that'll also give it some extra security. As well as hiding it. Okay, make sure to open this one so that you don't accidentally adhere it down. I'm going to put this one here. I think I'm going to go this way. Okay, now I'm going to add a set of magnets onto these little tabs. Okay, and now I'm going to close these up. Okay, and put a little bit more score tape on our magnets here. Okay, and then fold them up and over to adhere the magnets. Okay, and that keeps those closed. And then I've got cut some little 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch squares, and they're going to go right on those things to decorate them. Okie doke. Just gonna put a little clip on these while they dry. Okay, and now we can put the paper on the front. Alright, just like that. And now we can move on to our last page. I'm just going to give these a couple minutes to dry, and then we can move forward on to our decorating our last page. Okay, so a reminder of what page 6 looks like. It's got 2 bits that go out like that, then one that goes up, and then this whole thing pulls down. Okay, so this one, I thought it was kind of cool. I liked this part that I felt like it looked like it was kind of coming down from the moon. So that's why I decided on this piece of paper, because I liked the way it looked. Thought it was like watery moon rays. And I think I'm going to put another one of these flowers here. I haven't completely decided on that. Might do some kind of corner design as well there. And then on the inside, it looks like that. Now, I have a piece of paper dividing these two just because of the way that I wanted it to line up with this piece of paper, in case you're wondering. I haven't put this one on yet. Okay, and then this folds down. Oh, and I'm missing a piece of paper here. Okay, well, let's just cut something real quick. Okay, so I just put some kind of rust-colored paper there. Now that flips back up, that closes, and that closes. So I'm just gonna put that little flower there. And then we can start, and we can put our pages into our album. Okay, so I've got my album with the binding attached. I think I'm going to trim, I should have done this before I put them in, but I'm going to trim a little bit at an angle here. Like miter the edges of them, just to make it a little bit easier for the paper to go in. I'm just going to find some sharper scissors. This isn't absolutely necessary, but I find it does help a little bit to get the pages on to the flanges. Is that what they're called? Okay. So now I'm going to remove the score tape backing and add some wet adhesive. Okay, and then take my first page and make sure I've got the center of the page, and then just kind of slide it on. And then press on it. Okay, and then we can do the next one. Alright, make sure you've got them all in the right order. Okay, and the last one. Okay, perfect. I'm just gonna let those dry a little bit more. I'm gonna stand it upright like this and let them dry a bit more, and then I will get my cover happening. Okay, so I've kept the covers quite plain. The front cover I'm going to do something special with, so I'm going to leave that for now. On the spine, I've got that on the back, and then on the inside, I just went with some solid paper, and then one of the Minte papers, and some journaling spot, and then on the back, I've got just some solid green, and then one of my pieces. Okay, and so this is pretty much it. You can add some stuff into your pocket, do any more embellishing that you would like to do, but you are basically done. And in the next video, we will go over the cover and do the front cover. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this, and tune in for part 3, and we're going to do a polymer clay cover. Okay, so at least I'm going to attempt it anyway. I'm not super proficient with polymer clay, but I think I can make it look good. Okay, so I hope you're having an amazing day, and I will see you again very, very soon. Sending you huge hugs. Lots of love. That's me hugging you.